for being a shining example of what it means to be a responsible business owner. You know, I'm going to just start my remarks with a scripture from James chapter 5. Where the book of James chapter 5, verse 1, it says, "Woe unto the rich who have denied the wages to the workers." Warning to the rich who denied wages to the workers. But the good thing about that scripture, because clearly they were denying their wages. But if you keep reading, the Bible says that I hear the cries of the workers. And as mayor of the city of Chicago, I hear what our Lord and Savior hears. And that's the cry of the workers. And that's why I'm proud to stand here to resist every single attempt to undermine workers in this city. I do want to take a moment again to just acknowledge the fact that the timing of today's gathering, as Alder Fuentes indicated, tomorrow we mark the day where we honor Women's Equal Pay Day. As we fight to preserve the wages of tip workers, the history of tomorrow's date is not lost on me. For generations, women in the labor movement have been devalued and looked down upon, and particularly black and brown women in the labor movement. Today, women in America still earn just 81 cents for every dollar earned by a man in the same job. This fact only deepens my resolve and commitment to tip workers in Chicago, the majority of whom are black and brown women. I encourage everyone to join us tomorrow at 12 p.m. at Daily Plaza for Women's Equal Pay Day. It's a rally where we continue to call out the disparities. As we build a nationwide movement for equitable pay and equal pay, we also have a responsibility to lead by example here in Chicago, showing that supporting local businesses and paying workers fair wages can go hand in hand. And the facts are clear. Chicago's restaurant industry is not shrinking. In fact, it is thriving. One fair wage has not led to the decreased hiring. In fact, there are more Chicagoans working in hospitality now than were working when we first won these raises back in 2024. There is little to no evidence to support the claims that this policy has led to restaurants closing. Since July 1, 2024, the city has issued 1,574 new retail food establishment licenses while renewing 83% in 2025. So in other words, since we have raised the wages of workers, restaurants are actually doing better. And this is despite the broader economic challenges. Chicago's hospitality sector is thriving like never before. In 2025, our city saw a new record-breaking number in tourism with more than 3.56 million hotel rooms bookings and almost $1 billion of new revenue. We cannot forget the challenges, of course, that working people are facing right now because they are real. We are in the midst of an affordability crisis. There has never been a right time ever to roll back the rights and gains of women, particularly women of color. It's especially tone deaf and disturbing to see individuals attempt to do that in this moment. And families are struggling under the weight of rising costs, rent, groceries, childcare, and wages have not kept up with these rising costs. At a time when people are fighting just to stay afloat, you had individuals who claim to stand up for working people as Democrats take money out of the pockets of working people. This is the opposite of what we need in leadership in this moment. We should be doing everything in our power to increase the wages of workers. Could you imagine, think about the contracts that we have settled as a city. Could you imagine City Council taking up a vote to roll back the wages that we promised and declared in a contract? I'm going to just let that sink in for a minute. Think about the contracts of the public workers, all of them. Could you imagine right now in this moment, someone coming before city council to roll back those wages that were promised in this contract? If you can't imagine that, then why in God's name would we ever attempt to roll back an agreement that we made to black and brown women? And so in a time in which the federal government is cutting taxes for the ultra wealthy, giving them the largest tax break in the history of America, the rich literally got richer with a stroke of a pen. And with the stroke of a pen in a very soon moment, I'm going to make sure that working people get paid in our city. Gutting health care and taking food benefits away from people. We're not going to abandon working people.
That's right.
And that is why I have officially filed my veto ordinance. And I will not allow our progress to be put on pause. I will not allow us as a city to compromise what workers deserve. We will fight to preserve the raises of tipped workers. We will continue to fight to push back against the segment of city council which has unfortunately sided with the very people that God said, woe unto. So we fought in the city council for 5 days of paid leave, for 5 days of sick leave. We fought for it, and we won. We fought in the city council for the largest investment in affordable housing in the city's history. We fought for it, and we won. We fought in city council to secure the largest TIF surplus for our public education system in the history of Chicago with over $500 million. We fought that fight, and guess what? We won. And even as city council has stood in our way, blocked the efforts to ensure that the ultra-wealthy and the largest corporations pay their fair share, we will overcome and win. And this group of alder that goes out of their way to take wages from tens of thousands of hard-working Chicagoans, we are not going to let them get away with it. Look, I know I'm taking my time, but I drove all the way to the south side today. I'm going to take my time here. So I want every worker in the city, I want every worker in the city to hear me and to hear me clearly. As long as I'm mayor of this great city, the working people in this city will always have a fighter on the 5th floor in Brandon Johnson. Not back down from our commitments to build Chicago into the most pro-worker city in America. Our fight is far from over, and we cannot do this alone. So here's what I'm going to do as organizer-in-chief. I'm calling on workers across this city to organize, call their aldermen, call their state reps, call their state senators, call the governor, call your mama, call your daddy, to let them know that the ultra-rich in this city and this state must pay their fair share in taxes. One friendly amendment, leave your mothers alone for a day. Just give them a moment. All the hardworking moms, I apologize. We call you all the time, but I want you to know that as workers, we have to stand together. Because when I sign this veto, I have to make sure that the city council doesn't override it. And that's why we are really calling people to action. Call your alderman and let them know that this veto makes sense for the people of Chicago. And because you all, in closing, We are building a multicultural, multiracial, working class movement across this city and across this country. That power to fight the ultra wealthy and the big corporations, that fight continues. We are building an America where everyone can earn a livable wage. As Dr. King made it very clear when he walked the streets of Chicago, he was convinced of one thing. He said, getting it right in Chicago for working people, we can get it right anywhere in America. And so we are getting it right in Chicago, taking that hope across this country. God bless you all. Thank you very much. I do want to acknowledge two other alders have joined us. Alders Irvin and Seicho Lopez. Okay.
So, no microphone or?
Do we have a microphone?
Oh, good.
Oh, we don't. I can hear you.
I'm curious, what do you think that the fact that you're issuing yet another veto says about the dynamic with the city council? One alderman today said it seems like there's a coalition that just opposes the things that you do. Is that how you see it? What do you think?
Well, look, the way I see it is that they are opposing working people in Chicago, right? This is really about us keeping our commitment to working people. And I'm going to keep my commitment to them, right? And, as far as, their motivation, look, I'm not going to speculate. I'm just going to continue to show up for working people in our city, and particularly at a time in which we are very clear that affordability is a challenge across this country, and at a time in which the President of the United States of America is giving tax breaks to the ultra wealthy to take wages away from working people. Essentially, it continues to align with this direction in our economy that makes life more palatable for the most privileged, while continuing to disrupt progress and opportunity for working people. So their opposition is really about their opposition to the working people, and unfortunately are capitulating to this idea that somehow the ultra-rich and the most privileged deserve tax breaks, while workers do not deserve raises.
Is that how you see the sort of the dynamic of all of the major disagreements that you've had in the last year or so with the council? That it's your support for workers and their support for owners and capital holders?
Well, look, there's no secret that the ultra-rich and particularly the special interests have an oversized, not just opinion, but dictation in our economy, right? You saw hundreds of millions of dollars spent throughout this campaign cycle that, clearly is working overtime to protect the interests of just a handful, and maybe not even a handful, but the interest of one, right? And so I just know that for me and the alders that are standing alongside of me, we're clear about our assignment. That our assignment is to make sure that everyday people in the city of Chicago have all of the support that they deserve and need to live in thriving communities. You heard the owner here. She talked about people over profit, but she took it one step further. She talks about those investments have created safer spaces in communities as a result of these investments in working people. And so why would we roll back something that is effectively transforming our city, particularly on the sides of town that have been historically disinvested in? So it's not only tone deaf and short-sighted, quite frankly, we'll call it immoral, because that's exactly what it is. Hey. Oh. I'm sorry, Heather, because I was listening to you. That was my bad. Right. Okay. No, let Heather go. Come on, Will. It's Women's History Month, for crying out loud. Now, you better ask a nice question.
How concerned are you that the city council could find 34 votes to override your veto? And if they do you see that as rebuke and
It's not going to happen.
Well, look, the reason why I'm calling the city of Chicago to action is because I want to make sure that we don't override my veto. Right? Look, this fight, we're not going into this fight by ourselves.
That's right.
And so, look, I won't speculate or try to prognosticate, what could happen. What I can say is that as of date, we know that there are at least 18 to 20 individuals on the city council as of date that recognize that this is, not only short-sighted, but it is the antithesis to who we are as the working city of this great country. So again, this is yet another opportunity to call the people of Chicago to action. And here's what we're asking you to do. If you believe that women who serve this city, who are raising families in this city, who pay taxes in this city, if you believe that they deserve equal pay for the work that they are doing, call your alderman and tell them that you agree with that.
That's right.
All right.
Of course, the law requires that employers make up the difference if tip workers' wages are falling short of that wage. If this veto ordinance does stand, in the interim, what tips and guidance do you have for workers to ensure that they are getting that?
Well, we're looking at our sure-ups, even now, to make sure that we have a sharper, cleaner system that reports back on a regular basis, that in the event wages are not being met, we're already looking at measures to continue to sharpen our sure-ups to mitigate, any harm that could happen as a result of workers losing their tips.
For the record, I asked Suzanne Lennon Young if she wanted to answer the question.
Okay.
She's deferring to me and not her witnesses.
Okay.
You all have talked about affordability issues facing the working class. Alderperson Fuentes did as well. But even Ms. Carmella talked about how this wage law is going to cost her a bit more money. And indeed, 17% of restaurants did not renew their licenses in the last year. What steps can you take, or are you going to take, to help restaurants who are, like everybody else, struggling financially right now?
Yeah, look, there's no secret that the illegal tariffs that the President of the United States put forward has caused harm to working people and business leaders. It has. And, you know, one of the reasons why I have been so vehement in my opposition to the Trump administration, because of the impact that it's having in cities. You know, look, the President of the United States of America, he gets to ride on his golf carts and on his high horse because he doesn't have to experience life on the ground. He doesn't. And so he doesn't relate to it. That's why his entire administration looks like the country club and not like the working class of this country, right? And so what I've said from the very beginning, we're not going to pit business owners against their workers because we need each other. And so that's why, if you remember, a $1.25 billion economic bond that we passed at the same time in which we raised the wages, which means we put more money in economic development than even our raises. No mayor has invested more in small businesses than Mayor Brandon Johnson. You can check every single record. You can look high and low. You're not going to find any mayor that has invested more in economic development and housing than me. Because I recognize that they both have to coincide with one another. I want people to be able to have livable wages and affordable housing so they stay in the very communities that hire them. Listen, this is not radical. This is literally what the people have been begging for in this city for decades, and we're finally getting it done. And so listen, Ms. Muhammad got me fired up over here because, yes, listen, it's a promise that we made to people. Let's keep in mind, you all, you imagine, think about the number of businesses that received economic development from the bond deal. Think about those individuals. The Good Food Fund is a good example. Think about all the small businesses. And think about at the federal level, small business investment is being cut. What if we were to go back to those small businesses and say, you know what? We know we gave you this money. We know we promised you this money. We know you've already budgeted around this money. But because we're having such a hard time at the federal level, we're going to take those dollars back from small businesses. Could you imagine us doing something like that? People would call that not only ridiculous, but irresponsible.
Yes.
But why, when it comes to everyday working people, they expect working people to put up with nonsense that other entities would not put up with? Listen, now, I'm a social studies teacher. Admittedly, I'm not a math teacher. You know, thank God my son, he's in 8th grade, he's already in geometry. He knows math better than his father. But the one math that I do know, if you invest in people, the return on that investment is always greater. So God bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm Matt Zahn. Just 8 months after he was selected number 3 overall by the Blackhawks, 18-year-old Anton Frondell was making his debut with the Hawks in New York last night. Despite his experience playing professional hockey in the Swedish Hockey League, the young forward was still feeling the jitters ahead of his first NHL game.
Very nervous, I can't lie. It's been like yesterday, arriving at the hotel, meet all the guys on the team was cool, and now first time on the ice. I don't know how I did. Felt hard to breathe out there, but now I'm ready for the game.
Connor Bedard gave Frondell a little tap to let him take the opening face-off in his debut. Hawks win a quick 1-0 hole on a two-man breakaway. Frank Nazar's shot is wide, but Nick Lardis is there to put it in. His second straight game with a goal. Late first, it's Frondell with the steal. Nice pass to Ilya Mikheyev. Mikheyev finds the back of the net to give the Hawks the lead. Frondell with an assist in his first NHL game. Hawks had a 4-1 lead late. It was 4-3 very late. Arvid Soderblom had 44 saves to help seal it. Hawks get the 4-3 win. Frank Thomas is suing the White Sox. The Hall of Famer accuses the team, along with Nike and Fanatics, of using his name and number to sell merchandise without his permission. He's specifically disputing the use of his name and number 35 on the team's red and black City Connect 2.0 jerseys without compensation or his consent. The lawsuit is seeking more than $50,000 in damages. Hubert Davis is out as head coach of North Carolina after 5 years and just 5 days after their stunning second-half collapse against VCU, the team the Illini just knocked out of the NCAA tournament. Current Bulls head coach Billy Donovan's name has come up as a legitimate candidate to replace Davis. This, as the Sun-Times reports, he might step away from the Bulls after this season. Next up for the Illini, Calvin Sampson and second-seeded Houston, who have a likely NBA lottery pick and guard Kingston Flemings to go with their usual stout defense. The Illini bring one of the nation's best offenses, something Sampson is apparently learning firsthand as he starts to break down their film.
I found myself being a fan, just enjoyed watching it. And then I go, whoa, how do you guard it? So it's a unbelievable challenge to try to get ready for him.
Ryan Baker is in Houston. He'll have reports beginning this afternoon, and it is a happy birthday for Pete Crow Armstrong. He turns 24 today, just after signing a new 6-year, $115 million contract extension. That, according to multiple reports, the deal covers all the years he's under team control, plus his first 2 free agent years, meaning he could hit free agency before his age 31 season.
Beautiful spring weather today under a mix of clouds and sun. High temperatures make it to 71 degrees with warm breezes from the southwest. Overnight tonight, there is an isolated storm possible with some small hail, mainly southwest of the city. Otherwise, it's mostly cloudy and very warm with a low of only 56. Nice day today, but a weather alert tomorrow. 3 to 10 p.m. Severe storms with isolated tornadoes and very large hail possible, and temperatures that will be tumbling into a very chilly afternoon. Cool, breezy weather sticks around Friday with a few flurries. Then temperatures warm this weekend into a stormier week next week.
Some amazing pieces of rock history could be yours. With rare guitars and iconic memorabilia from Kiss, Metallica, and Motley Crue hitting the auction block. Highlights include a 1977 tour jacket and legendary electric guitar played by Kiss founding guitarist Ace Frehley, who died last year. Frehley's 1975 Gibson Les Paul, known as Ace 1, is expected to sell for up to $600,000. The Music Icons auction is happening in New York at the end of May, so you have a little time to cobble together your pennies. Iranian leaders have rejected a ceasefire proposal that was put forth by the Trump administration. Instead, Iran has issued its own counterproposal, and sources are telling CNN that Iranians would rather negotiate with Vice President J.D. Vance and not President Trump. Meanwhile, that country continues to launch strikes on Israel, and the president is sending more troops to the region. Ed O'Keefe has this wrap up from the White House.
Even as Iran continues to launch missiles towards Israel and other Gulf nations,
we're in negotiations right now.
President Trump claimed the regime is so near defeat, it has no choice but to negotiate an end to the war.
We killed all their leadership, and then they met to choose new leaders, and we killed all of them. And now we have a new group.
What makes you trust them?
Do you think I trust them? I don't trust them.
Well, then why bother talking to them?
Because they're going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal. They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is.
The president would only say the present involves oil and gas and the Strait of Hormuz. Average gas prices are now nearing $4 a gallon nationwide. But even as indirect negotiations continue, the U.S. is preparing to send about 1,000 members of the Army's 82nd Airborne Division who specialize in parachuting into hostile territory. Also on the way, about 5,000 U.S. Marines, adding to more than 50,000 American troops already in the region. Possible targets: Karg Island, Iran's key oil shipping depot, or even the Iranian coastline to help secure the strait. But even some Republicans have called on the president to clarify his plans.
The White House really does need to articulate the plan so that people aren't reacting to their own hypothetical deployment of what troops on the ground looks like.
Despite the skepticism, the Senate failed for the third time last night to pass a war powers resolution that would have reined in war operations. The 47-53 vote split mostly along party lines. The House is not expected to hold a similar vote. Ed O'Keefe, CBS News, the White House.
A federal judge ordered the Trump administration to resume CTA Red Line extension funding. That order also includes the red and purple modernization projects. The federal government froze $2 billion in funding over a review for, quote, race-based contracting. In that ruling, the judge noted when the CTA applied for the funding, there were requirements for the number of women and minority-owned subcontractors. When the Trump administration eliminated those requirements, the grants were already awarded. Those payments must resume by Friday mid-morning. In a statement, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson called that ruling a victory. He wrote in part, "As long as I am mayor of the city of Chicago, I will use every tool at my disposal to preserve every last dollar of federal funding that Trump has attempted to steal from the people of our city." Today's show host, Savannah Guthrie, is giving her first interview since her mother was reported missing on February 1st. She was understandably emotional as she spoke with Hoda Kotb.
Someone needs to do the right thing. We are in agony.
Yeah.
We are in agony. I wake up every night, in the middle of the night, every night. And in the darkness, I imagine her terror. And it is unthinkable.
Authorities believe that someone kidnapped 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie from her Arizona home 7 weeks ago. They released video of a possible suspect from the doorbell camera. The family now offering a $1 million reward for Nancy's recovery.
Well, Cubs opening day is at Wrigley tomorrow, and unfortunately here from the weather department, the news is not great. Temperatures 51 turning into the 40s throughout the game, with an increasing chance of scattered rain and storms, and even the chance of severe weather by late afternoon. Tomorrow, unfortunately, mainly from 3 to 10 p.m., we do have a 2 out of 5 risk of seeing severe storms, including in Chicago. Very large hail, egg to tennis ball size, the main concern, but a couple of tornadoes looking more possible, especially south of I-80. The reason being, that's where the warm air resides. A lake-enhanced cold front surges into Chicago, making for a chilly day tomorrow. But down south of I-80, we're expecting 70s, maybe even 80s, and that could be the fuel for a few rotating thunderstorms. Here's how it all plays out. This afternoon, beautiful weather with warm southwest winds, highs in the 70s and a few breaks of sun. Overnight tonight, an initial impulse pulse of energy. May develop a couple isolated storms down south. Small hail possible, but these are not a guarantee. Far from it. Tomorrow morning, we start off clear and calm, but notice this bank of fog surging in from the lake. This is a morning cold front coming off the lake into the city, and look at the temperatures behind it, falling to 52 in the Loop midday, 40s along the lake shore and in the city through tomorrow afternoon. Meantime, after 4 p.m. especially, storms start to develop and move in from the northwest. By tomorrow evening, these could be severe storms, even with cold surface temperatures. Very large hail will be a concern as they roll into the city. As they encounter maybe some warmer air down south, a few isolated spin-up tornadoes are possible late tomorrow evening. After 10 p.m., this is all shifting to the south as colder air blows in and drier weather returns on Friday. In the meantime, not only some severe weather possible, but beneficial rain as well. Wherever the heaviest storms set up, 1 inch to 1.5 inches possible. Most of us get less than 1 inch, though, tomorrow evening. Today, ahead of the storm, it's beautiful. Clouds and sun with a warm breeze, 71. Overnight tonight, a few isolated storms are possible, but not likely. Lows are warm in the mid-50s. Tomorrow, we'll call it 64 because the cold front arrives strong and early in Chicago. Tumbling temperatures behind it and a late-day severe storm risk. Breezy and colder with a few flurries possible Friday. This weekend looks great with dry weather and warming temperatures. Next week, though, not only warm temperatures, but a higher likelihood of periods of thunderstorms.
Hundreds of new jobs are coming to Chicago. Mars Snacking is expanding its headquarters in the city, which means 600 jobs will be up for grabs. The company and Governor J.B. Pritzker made that announcement this morning. Mars Snacking will open a new regional office hub in the Fulton Market District, and it will open a new global office in downtown Chicago. More than 144,000 Lexus vehicles are under recall. Toyota, the parent company of Lexus, says they could have issues with their rear view camera display. This ultimately could increase the risk of crashing while in reverse. The recalled vehicles were made between 2022 and 2026. They include models NX350, NX250, RX350 and the TX350. If you have one of those vehicles, a dealer will update your software or replace that camera for free. A food pantry in Little Village got a pretty big donation this morning. Mayor Brendan Johnson was on hand to help stock the shelves at Pan de Vida on 27th and Lawndale. The LDS Church donated food through its America 250 initiative. That food will feed 1,400 people.